CityCast Pittsburgh is brought to you today by the Heinz History Center. We have been hyping up their Pittsburgh Hidden History exhibit since it opened. And if you haven't checked it out, now is your chance. It truly is such a cool opportunity to look behind the curtain and see what the curators themselves actually love the most. Teeny tiny toy collections, spooky stuff, a huge riverboat wheel, even a bunch of shivs. The whole exhibit has gotten such rave reviews that they're keeping it going way longer than they initially planned. But it's not going to last forever, so cross a river, cross a bridge, and get thyself to the Heinz History Center. And don't forget, kids 17 and under always get in for free. Plan your visit at heinzhistorycenter.org. Today on CityCast Pittsburgh, it is Halloween, but the news does not have to be scary. We're talking about what to do with all those pumpkins you bought, ways to honor Dia de los Muertos, a one-day opportunity to get free money from Giant Eagle this weekend, and how this enormous, complicated sports betting scandal somehow, of course, all ties back to Pittsburgh. I'm with CityCast's Mallory Falk and Sophia Lowe talking about some of the biggest stories of the week. It's Friday, October 31st. I'm Megan Harris, and here's what Pittsburgh's talking about. Mallory, Sophia, hello. I feel like it's been a goofy week in Pittsburgh news.
A little bit. But we started on the river, someplace fun.
The last wisps of summer.
Yeah. Megan, you were talking to River Life about some of the improvements coming up. I'm really looking forward to when a lot of trails are connected. I really want restaurants on the river too, but I guess that might not happen.
I know, but apparently that is the wrong thing to request from River Life. But they are down to advocate if anybody listening is excited to put a restaurant with a river view.
Yes, that was Monday's episode. The head of River Life pointed out the Detroit riverfront as an example we should be looking to. I actually was at the Detroit riverfront earlier this week. Can confirm there are lovely bathrooms there. There's a spot to fill your water bottles. There's water bowls for dogs. Like, they really are just putting us to shame. So hopefully we can take a little inspiration and get somewhere to pee that's not a porta potty under a bridge.
I vote that 2026 is CityCast, year of the bathroom. We're just going to try to get bathrooms anywhere we can.
I love that. But on Tuesday, we did talk about some things Pittsburgh is good at because we've made a ton of big national lists, even a world list. We talked about how National Geographic put us on the top 25 places to visit in 2026 and also fun Pittsburgh Halloween costumes. I have a costume on right now. It's a onesie, though, not Pittsburgh themed.
No, but your flying squirrel is welcome on microphone anytime, Sophia.
Happy Halloween.
There are squirrels in Pittsburgh.
That's true, actually. You could just carry around a tote bag and then you're Squirrel Hill. That's what our neighbor taught us.
You're right.
Incredible. So then on Wednesday, we offered kind of a procrastinator's guide to the election that is happening next Tuesday, November 4th. So if you've been wondering what'll be on your ballot, whether this election actually matters, since a lot of our races are decided in the primary, it does. It truly, truly does. The future of reproductive rights in our state could hinge on some of the questions you'll see on your ballot. So definitely check that out before you go vote. And then on Thursday, we talked about a Halloween legend from Beaver County.
Yes, very seasonal. But I guess, we can't only be talking Halloween. What is news that is relevant to Pittsburgh?
Yeah, so we are going to talk a little bit about sports betting, this big scandal that is rocking a lot of the sports world, specifically the NBA. I'm curious if either of y'all have followed any piece of this.
Absolutely not. I did not know this was relevant to Pittsburgh.
Well, I realized that, but had you heard that there was a thing?
Yes, and it said sports, so I was like, no, thank you.
Sophia tuned out. Mallory, what about you?
So I caught a portion of an NPR story about this in the car, but then I got to my destination and didn't get to hear the end. So I've actually been really wanting someone to give me a TLDR version of what's happening. So I'm very excited, Megan, for you to take us on this journey.
Okay, so clean slates, the both of you got it. I'll treat you, listener, like you were in the same boat. Again, this is about the NBA, which is usually not a thing we talk about here on CityCast Pittsburgh.
Since we do not have our own NBA team, despite pleas from Pittsburghers.
Please from me. I want an NBA. I want a WNBA team, actually. That's what I want.
Yes, 100%.
But still, this story is very relevant to Pittsburgh, so stay with me. We're going to go through the background first. A current head coach, a current player, and a former player have all been arrested thanks to a couple of federal indictments related to illegal gambling on basketball games. Basketball games and rigged poker games with, wait for it, ties to the mafia. And not just any mob, but the 5 families in New York. Like, this
I'm
is like,
interested now. If you told me this was a mob story.
It's a mob story.
I'm in. Okay.
And it's like the highest echelon of mob stories now. So some of this goes back as far as 2019, when investigators say 3 of those 5 families, and some stories say 4, so I'm not really sure. But anyway, a quorum of 5 families were involved in these high-stakes poker games. So obviously not advertising this, but bringing in high rollers to spend money with them. And they use these rigged card shufflers with somebody off-site. It all sounds kind of complicated to me, but I mean, running games is like kind of part of it, I guess. So anyway, they're swindling people out of tens of thousands of dollars. Like, one victim apparently lost $2 million in these poker games.
Shakes.
Anyway, the head coach was involved in this. So his name was Chauncey Billups. And until last week, he was the head of the Portland Trail Blazers. He has been arrested along with the 2 players. So they did different illegal stuff. So this goes back at least as far as 2022. And they shared what's called non-public game information.
What is that?
Yeah, so the current player, Terry Rozier, he would tell someone that he personally doesn't feel good today, or he might re-aggravate an injury, that might happen in the first quarter of this upcoming game. Anyway, there was a middleman that he was telling this to, and that person would tell a network of sports bettors who would use legal sports betting apps to place big bets on this, like, one player statistics, for example. That's what's called betting the under. And then Rozier is also accused of sharing information about his teammates. So at the time, that was the Charlotte Hornets, currently the Miami Heat. But like star players, for example, would be resting one night or another, like they wouldn't take the court. So again, this whisper network would pick up and they could place their bets accordingly. Like, we're talking tens of thousands of dollars moving because of these bets. And to be very clear, this is also very illegal to do when you play professional sports. Like, players have faced charges for this. They have been banned from the league. Like, there's a long history of you don't do this.
That's actually like a piece of the NPR story I caught that made this all click to me, is about like you're betting on how well a player is going to perform. And it's a lot harder to rig doing well because like anytime you're playing, you want to like score a bunch or whatever. But it's a lot easier to rig doing poorly, like missing shots or throwing the ball to your opponent or whatever, so that people would actually perform worse than they normally would have.
Yeah, and sports betting is also like, I mean, there's a long history of this, but there's things called like prop bets, for example. So like there's like the normal ones that we think of as like who wins, who loses, by how much, like that's called the spread. But there's also like a million side bets that you can make. And that's where like, especially with an individual player's performance, you can like, I mean, there's really no limit to how many things you could put money on if you want to. And these legal sports betting apps make that so much easier for people who are either susceptible to it or, in this case, perhaps had nefarious information and were just trying to cheat. So anyway, the former player, the third person involved in this, he was an unofficial assistant coach for the LA Lakers. That happens with teams sometimes. Like somebody's family member or friend will come over and be like an unofficial staff member and get all the access, but not like be an official member of the team.
Does he still get paid though?
I don't know. I've always been unclear on that. I would think so if you're wearing the uniform and sitting courtside, but like, what do I know?
Okay, well, clearly he got some money for this. Got caught, but
he
got money.
He allegedly did
point.
make some money. His name is Damon Jones, and he seemingly got that job because he played in Cleveland, close to us, our nearest basketball team, with LeBron James back when they were winning all those championships. So this guy is accused of feeding information about an unnamed player that perfectly fits the definition of LeBron James. And there's no evidence that we know of that LeBron or any other Laker was aware of this, at least not from these indictments so far. But this guy was saying, like, you know, they say this, like they feel this way, or I've heard they're not going to play tomorrow, that kind of thing. So like that again, this was all feeding through that whisper network.
Can you explain how like somebody not playing, someone would place a bet on that? Like how exactly does getting that information help you win a bet?
Yeah. So like, for example, with the Lakers, like LeBron James is the GOAT, man. Like if even though he's older now, like if he's on the court, the team tends to play differently. And if you follow sports a lot, you can infer that they'll do things differently, better, faster when he is on the court. So if you know he's sitting out completely, it changes what type of bets are possible.
Gotcha.
Same thing with like Anthony Davis is another basketball player for the Lakers that was like allegedly information was shared about. So like if you know two powerhouse, huge players aren't going to play, you could maybe take a guess or two as to how things might shake out.
That makes a lot of sense.
So anyway, Jones and Rozier, they were getting paid anytime they shared information, again, according to this investigation. And the coach, Billups, he was getting paid whenever he would sit in on a poker game because these players would be starstruck by an NBA coach and not focus as much while they were also being cheated by these card shufflers.
So the lesson is celebrity worship is bad and will lead to your financial ruin.
There is that, yes. And there's also been this separate thing here because until now we thought this other case was like not related to any of this until all of this popped off. But there's been a scandal at Temple University here in Pennsylvania. And then a Toronto Raptors player got banned from basketball. His name was Jonte Porter, and he pled guilty to it in January and can face 20 years in prison. Now, the reason I bring that up is because none of this felt that related until last week. The Pittsburgh connection, all those players, and there may be more, we'll see, plus that informal assistant guy, they were all telling one person, apparently, all this inside knowledge. And the poker games with the coach, those hinged on having these rigged card shuffling machines. And it's just our luck here in Pittsburgh that the middleman for the whispers and the supplier for the cheating technology, that was allegedly the same person. And he is from Pittsburgh, baby.
I had no idea how this was all going to tie together, how this would become a Pittsburgh story. That is wild.
Yeah, I was reading. I mean, I'm a basketball fan and I was aware this was happening, but it didn't affect my team. So I wasn't like too stressed. And then I was catching up on it and I was like, no, not Pittsburgh. Don't do it. Get Pittsburgh out of your mouth. And here we are. So I mean, if you want to catch up on this, the Philly Inquirer has a truly fascinating story about this guy because so much of his life is on social media, but it is paywalled, so I will give you the gist. His name is Shane Hennon. He is currently 40 years old, goes by the nickname Sugar.
Hate it.
So
nope.
Sugar Shane.
Ew.
He is from Washington, Pennsylvania, but the Inquirer goes out of its way to rub Pittsburgh's nose in the fact that it's Washington, and there are several ties to the city. Anyway, his grandfather apparently raised he and his brother Colin. That's relevant because Shane used his brother's name for a fair number of these nefarious deeds. He apparently taught them as young kids how to bet, but like there's no indication that like it was in a serious way. He did not know that he was setting his grandson up for this life path. But this guy made it his entire personality. He became a bet-fluencer, where like...
I did not know that was a thing.
I sure didn't either. But he built this whole brand as a high-stakes gambler and posted about it all the time on Instagram, which I will just say is now a rich text for both journalists and the FBI, because it is quoted at length in some of these reports. Anyway, he was in Allegheny County Court here by the time he was 21 for illegal video game devices. A few years later, he turned himself into police for something so much worse. I'm actually going to send y'all a paragraph. Who wants to read for me?
Oh, do I want to know? I'll read. I'm too curious now. His run-ins with the law soon grew more serious. Hennon turned himself into the police in 2009 after allegedly stabbing another man in the neck with a box cutter during an altercation at a nightclub in Pittsburgh's South Side red light district.
First of all, do we have something called a red light district in the South Side?
We absolutely do not. I lost it last night, y'all. I was like sending screenshots of this to so many people because I'm just like, what the hell could they possibly be talking about? Mallory, you might remember this because you were in Pittsburgh in this era and from here. They mean, first of all, Diesel was the nightclub, which is East Carson Street. They're calling the main stretch of East Carson a red light district. Like,
I know there have been all of these proposals to try to like add a curfew on Carson Street. Is this like, did somebody plant this to try to make that area seem more extreme than it is?
I don't think so. I think this is just Philadelphia dunking on Pittsburgh in the weirdest possible way.
This is why you need to tune into local media, such as CityCast Pittsburgh.
I just think it's the most bizarre sentence. It took me, my soul left my body when I read that.
You know that something has to be extreme to just skip past the like stab someone in the neck with a box cutter and focus on a different detail in that paragraph.
Yeah, I'm still on that part. Like, why is he still relevant today? Like, who's hanging out with him after he allegedly stabbed someone?
If you read his Instagram, which the Inquirer did, there's again rich text. They're talking about like how he's like, I've had ups and downs in my life, but it's all part of the journey. He very much strikes the like, I want to be inspirational with all of my like nefarious dealings. Like there was a line in here where it's talking about how like by 2018 when sports betting gets fully legalized and everything's more mainstream, like this guy has completely jumped the shark. Like he's had several run-ins with the law. He's gone to Florida. Now he lives in Philly. He's flying out to Vegas all the time. But he's also like posting pictures in like private jets about getaways to Dubai and Monaco and like holding stacks of $100 bills, posting pictures of like betting receipts with 5 and 6 figure receipts.
Okay, so he's just rich enough to get away with this.
Potentially, but like it doesn't show us necessarily like how much he's making. Like this is like, it's like the highlight reel thing of anything to do with social media. Like he made this his entire personal brand. The Inky writes that like he's posting some of these receipts the way other people would post photos of their pets and children.
Oh, well, I have an Instagram account for my cat. So does he have an Instagram account for his receipts? I'm not looking at that.
I mean, I think it's anything. Like he also like created a consultancy at some point to like try to get people to like pay him so that he can say, oh, you need to bet on this. That'll pay out really big, like that kind of thing. Not unlike how people follow people for like stock tips and stuff like that, too. I think this is maybe just like a new economy for the betting industry, which, again, thanks to things like, DraftKings and FanDuel and all of these companies is like just so much more accessible. So this guy, Hennon, between 2019 and 2024 at least, he was allegedly involved in all this nonsense with the 5 families, with the rigged poker games, with throwing basketball games in the NBA. Like, who knows how this is all going to shake out. He's apparently been working with authorities since January when all the Temple stuff shook out. But like, the Inquirer quoted him as like posting just last week after all these indictments became public, after his name was everywhere. He's posting from Vegas on his Instagram saying, never change. I'm too stuck in my ways.
Shouldn't his lawyer be like advising him against posting that? What is he doing?
He should be locking down those accounts.
He's got a brand, I guess. I don't know.
Does anyone know how he got connected to these circles? How a humble Washington, PA man ended up here?
Not humble. Clearly not humble.
No, I don't think it's humble. Although I think the Inquirer also called it like a hard scrabble town outside Pittsburgh or something. And I'm like, yo, Washington's kind of cute, actually. Like I wouldn't call. We have hard scrabble towns around us. I wouldn't say that that's one of them.
So what I'm really learning is that the Inquirer does not know Pittsburgh. Next time, give us a call if you want, flowery descriptions of Pittsburgh and the surrounding area
that are actually accurate.
They're just trying to deflect from the fact that this guy chose to build his life in Philly.
True.
Ooh, good point.
Good point, Mallory.
Well, let's talk about Pittsburgh from Pittsburghers trivia time.
Yes. So to get in the Halloween spirit, our quizmaster Kevin Gavin and our newsletter editor Francesca DeBecco, they put together some Pittsburgh cemetery trivia, seasonally appropriate. It is all about where famous Pittsburghers are buried. So if you want to take the full quiz, you can go to our website, pittsburgh.citycast.fm. But I pulled out a question for us to play along with today. So there is a famous Pittsburgher not involved in sports betting, whose gravesite has been live streamed on a webcam since 2013. Who is this person?
I have no idea.
Who's changing out the cameras? That's what I want to know.
It's been a while since I've stumped you both, and by I mean Kevin, because I did not write the trivia.
Well, you can tell us the answer after the break. This episode is sponsored by Quantum Theater. They are in their 35th season, and you can catch their upcoming play, Enron. Yes, The Company. It's described as a high-octane odyssey through the glittering free fall of American capitalism. And I gotta say, Quantum, you are actually literally selling it. I'm so on board for this. The show is written by playwright Lucy Preble. She was a writer and executive producer for HBO's Succession, so you know it's going to be full of satire, high drama, and a nebby glimpse into the lives of the ultra-wealthy. For example, if you are a scholar of corporate infamy, you can look for true celebrity sightings. We're talking Jeff Skilling, Andy Fasto, and the Southern charmer himself, Ken Lay. To really get you into the business mindset, to get you ready for the play, Quantum Theater is taking their performance high above the skyline at Oxford Center. I love that they're doing this. It's exactly the right amount of extra. If you want to check out one of the 90s most iconic cautionary tales, check out Enron. It's open October 30th through November 23rd. You can get your tickets at quantumtheater.com/Enron. We are with you today thanks to the Greater Pittsburgh Nonprofit Partnership. It's a program of the Forbes Funds, and they have something big coming up. So this year marks the 20th year of the GPNP Summit, and it's such a great opportunity for anyone working to strengthen our region's nonprofits. Everyone is invited, whether you're a leader, an employee, a volunteer, or even just really passionate about an organization's impact. The theme this year is AI advocacy in action, and more than 600 changemakers are meeting at Nova Place to talk about how innovation and collaboration might shape the future of social good. Attendees are going to hear from national thought leaders, create community with peers from across Western Pennsylvania, and hopefully leave with ideas and tools to further their nonprofit missions. It's going to give you all the right energy to head into the new year. Register now at gpnpsummit.org and join the conversation that's shaping what's next for Pittsburgh's nonprofit community.
We are back, and the Pittsburgher whose gravesite is live streamed on a webcam is none other than Andy Warhol.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that tracks. Got it. But why 2013? Like, why is that the random year someone started doing this? I guess that's when the idea came to fruition.
Yeah, I don't actually know the answer to that because he was buried in 1987. He's actually buried at St. John the Baptist Byzantine Catholic Cemetery in Bethel Park. And this project, I don't actually know the details of kind of like why this got up and running in 2013. But an interesting detail I do know is that the project is called Figment. And Warhol once said, "I always thought I'd like my own tombstone to be blank, no epitaph and no name. Well, actually, I'd like it to say Figment." And his tombstone actually does say stuff on it, but the live stream project is called Figment, like in honor of that statement.
That's nice. Honestly, I thought his tombstone would be like a little flashier than just like plain. I didn't think he'd go like all out. Like I wasn't thinking like titty sphinx or shark tombstone. But I don't know. I guess like I think about his pop art, and I thought maybe that would be represented in his work a little more.
I mean, keep in mind, he didn't die of like a great old age. Like he died fairly young, which means that it's very possible his family figured out his tombstone for him. So, you know, as we all know, as we've learned from our conversations with our green burial friends, like sometimes if you don't have all this written down and all your I's dotted and T's crossed, other people make these choices for you.
But also I can see how like his gravesite might be a fun one to peer into because I'm looking at the live stream right now and someone has left like some Campbell's soup cans on the grave. Like there's a lot of stuff there that I think people probably do come pay homage with some of the materials that showed up in his artwork. So it's probably getting a little more attention than the average grave.
That makes sense.
Can you imagine how many decomposed bananas get left out, like just sit there in the sun for days?
Ooh. Now I don't feel like visiting now that you've brought that up.
Well, speaking of decomposing produce, I think that brings us to our next section.
Yes, now we are going to do Halloween stuff, but specifically where to discard your pumpkins, you know, once the season is over, sadly. We have an article on our website, pittsburgh.citycast.fm, so definitely go head over there too if you just want to see this out in written form, get like times for events and stuff. One way to sort of continue the Halloween fun is to bring them to the Cayman Science Center's Great Pumpkin Smash. So this is tomorrow, Saturday, from 10 a.m. to to 2 p.m. Costumes are encouraged. So, if you really don't want to take it off, show up. You can drop your pumpkin from 16 feet, learn some science or something. But one perk is that it's $5 off admission. Plus, you can kind of check out like their whole new rebrand, Cayman, because the Cayman family gave them a huge donation.
This feels very on brand for the Science Center. I feel like they always have like interesting post-holiday like activities. Like the one I always think of is when they invite people in the winter to save a snowball so that they can all have a snowball fight in the summer, like when that's like not a thing. I just think like they're very creative about like how to talk about science and things like that.
I did not know about that like postseason snowball fight. That is very cute.
Look, we'll have to watch for it and let y'all know when they're doing it.
I actually saw like another option if you want to smash your pumpkin. You can go out to Shennet Farm in Wexford. I hope I'm saying their name right. From November 1st to November 9th, they have an annual pumpkin smash that gives you an opportunity to just like really, I think, go to town on your leftover pumpkins.
Well, if your pumpkin is still in like good condition and you don't want to destroy it, you could also eat it because, whole undecorated pumpkins are really good for soup or baked goods. Even if it's like a carving pumpkin, you can still technically roast it, roast your pumpkin seeds, make them all nice and toasty.
Caveat to that, though, like if you've done like a vinegar bath or like sprayed it in clear coat or hairspray, please don't put that in your oven.
Is that a thing people do to their pumpkins?
Oh, absolutely. Like to keep the bugs out and like keep it from decomposing as fast. Like if you are I want to carve a pumpkin in the middle of September person, you probably want to do something like a vinegar bath to keep it from decomposing.
Okay, I'm definitely not that kind of person. Every weekend for the past month, we've said we're going to carve our pumpkin and it is still sitting there untouched on our front stoop. So I do not bust out the hairspray.
I definitely have done this in the past, but this year I'm with you, Mallory. Like that sweet little sucker still sitting at the bottom of the stairs, untouched.
Well, maybe both of you should consider, putting your pumpkins out, but not carving them. If you leave the pumpkin uncut, you could also donate your pumpkin to an animal. I think this is super cute. So one example is Allegheny Goatscape is taking pumpkins. You might have seen their like truck or their goats around. They kind of nosh on overgrown plants all over the cities. So the pumpkins need to be, like I said, whole and uncut, no paint, no decorations, no vinegar or bug spray. They want them to be firm, fresh, and mold free. Plus, like these are for pumpkins, they say larger than your palm. So you feel like the little decorative gourd kinds, like the goats have a lot of trouble eating that. You can donate in spots in Garfield and in Perry South. You also have until November 30th to donate your pumpkins there. So this could also be like an extra Thanksgiving pumpkin, something like that. And like I said, we'll have the link in the show notes to our website, which has like the exact addresses for places you can donate.
I feel like I've also heard this about like the Pittsburgh squealers. I have to think so hard to not screw that up. Like just because like, pigs will typically eat almost anything. They're not a discerning creature.
They are not, but their pumpkins also need to be uncarved, not painted. We don't want to poison the pigs.
This is a pig rescue that's based in Tarentum.
Yeah. They're so cute. They bring them like to a lot of farmers markets and different events. You can pet them. They're very sweet. So you do need to bring your pumpkins to their location in Tarentum. And you also have Thanksgiving to donate for this one too.
I love thinking about these pumpkins getting a second life, like sustaining goats and pigs. It's very sweet.
It could also sustain your garden because you can always compost your pumpkin. One important tip, though, do not compost the seeds. They could sprout in your composter. That sounds messy.
Oh, I have never once removed the seeds when composting a pumpkin, and it's been fine. Like it all gets crushed up eventually.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess depending on how much you want to risk it and how much effort you want to put in.
I mean, it can happen, but like as long as you're circulating that puppy as often as you need to, like it's like everything else. Like it doesn't sprout too much.
Okay, I don't circulate mine enough, so I think maybe that's the difference. You could also, I guess, just kind of chuck your pumpkin in your garden and see if it sprouts if you want. DIY your own pumpkin patch.
I mean, you could also like save your seeds. Like that's a separate thing that you could do if you want to, if that's like the goal for you.
Yeah, true. But if you want to compost your pumpkin, because I do know like some of them get kind of big, but you don't have your own compost at home, you could visit a farmer's market because the city accepts food waste like produce at the farmer's market in East Liberty. That's on Mondays. And then on the north side, they do the same thing. That's at Allegheny Commons Park on Fridays. And the hours are like 3 to 6 or 7. It kind of depends on like the date. So I would just try to get there earlier if possible.
And then also this weekend, we have Dia de los Muertos. Usually kicks off on Saturday evening, November 1st, and goes into the following day.
Yeah. So Day of the Dead, there are a ton of different ways to celebrate throughout the city. So tonight, Halloween, La Palapa on East Carson Street, maybe in the red light district, unclear to me.
No, don't perpetuate that.
But so they're having a Halo Dia party that's combining like Halloween and Dia de los Muertos celebrations. So there will be drink specials and karaoke. Costumes are encouraged. Then on Saturday, November 1st, there is a Dia de los Muertos party and fundraiser at Round Corner Cantina in Lawrenceville that is supporting Casa San Jose. They are co-hosts of this event. We have talked about them a bunch on the show, providing really critical support to Latino communities here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they've been doing a lot of really great work documenting ICE arrests and just sort of like helping people if they've been detained by ICE.
And also trying to help them go through just the normal, complicated process of immigration, which, is just a dumpster fire right now with what's happening with ICE.
Yeah, so always love promoting a party for a good cause, which this should be. This will also have drink specials and a DJ. There will be flash tattoos, a community ofrenda where you can make offerings to loved ones who have died. And there's a $5 suggested donation, which again will go to Casa San Jose. That same day, November 1st, there is a screening of Coco at the Harris Theater downtown. Kids 12 and under get in for free. For anyone who's not familiar, this is just like a beautiful animated series about the meaning of Dia de los Muertos.
It's such a good movie. It makes me
watch
weep
without
every time I
sobbing.
watch it.
Yeah, it's so good, but be prepared to ugly cry.
Yes. And then the following day, Sunday, November 2nd, La Escuelita Arcoiris is hosting a community celebration in Squirrel Hill. This is a Spanish immersion program for little kids. I actually went to their celebration last year. It was really sweet. They do it in the little parklet by the post office in Squirrel Hill and then dance over to Riverstone Books where there's a community ofrenda. And they have, crafts, face painting, music, dancing. They encourage people to bring lawn chairs and picnic blankets. It is super kid-friendly. I mean, really kid-oriented and so sweet. So I would personally recommend that one.
I've been to that one too. I used to live next door to them and they had the cutest events. It was before children were a central part of my life, but like it was still just like a blast to walk around and like see that kind of joy. Like kids yelling and happy, especially around a theme, or just it's kind of infectious. You can't be in a sad mood when you're around that.
Yeah, exactly. And then the last one I want to shout out is actually happening now through November 2nd. So downtown at the Greer Cabaret, there is an interactive community ofrenda. So you can show up with photos, flowers, a written memory to add to the altar to honor your loved one.
And I also want to throw out a shout out to Tepache. We were talking about some of that ICE activity. They've been raided before. Casa San Jose was there to bear witness. They're having a 4th anniversary celebration. I think it's technically in Marshall Township in Allegheny County, but it's like right there at the line with Cranberry. But they're also honoring Dia de los Muertos as part of the weekend. So we've got a couple of shout outs from our CityCast Pittsburgh neighbors. Always so excited to hear what y'all recommend.
Yes, today I'm bringing you some shout outs from Allie B. She actually sent us multiple ideas, so this is your reminder that you can send us more recommendations, keep them coming. So first, Allie B wanted to shout out Georgie's Corner Cafe in Shadyside. She says they have the loveliest staff and the most decadent pastries in town. I miss living around the corner from them every day.
I can confirm that is a very cute spot.
I haven't been yet, but it's been on my list. So I think this is maybe the push I need to actually go there.
I'd never even heard of it. Was not on my list at all. So thank you, Allie, for putting it there.
Because it's one of those, it's kind of tucked in a more residential section of Shadyside. Like it's not on the main drag. So I think you can miss it if you don't know it exists.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then another recommendation Allie B sent in is for Lather. It's a pet bathhouse. This is in Bloomfield. I pass this a lot and I've been like thinking about maybe taking my cat there because she's very squirmy. So thank you for like double tapping it, Allie. She takes her doodle there and Allie specifically recommended Riley. If you're going, ask for Riley.
I might need to check this out. My dog, every time we try to get her in the bathtub, just like turns her head dramatically in the opposite direction, thinking like if I can redirect their attention, they'll forget what we're doing. They'll forget the bathroom exists. So maybe she would enjoy, I don't know if she would enjoy or hate a more elevated experience.
Maybe it's like feels a little more like a spa treatment or like pampering. At least you're not there to, be the one who's bringing her down.
I do not currently have a pup in my life, but I've always had very large, very long-haired dogs, and a very long-haired cat once too. Like, it was just like a lot to clean up the bathroom after you were done bathing them. So like, this sounds so great as an option. Like, if you not just want to pamper your animal, but you also want to pamper yourself to be able to do this in a space that you can then leave once they're clean.
Yeah, I was checking this out. It looks like they also have an option to you washing the dog yourself, but they provide you the space, the supplies. So even if you just don't want to clean the bathroom, this sounds like a good option. So Thank you, Allie, for these shout outs. If you want to share your favorite local business, nonprofit, restaurant on the podcast, become a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor and send us your shout outs. We will read them right here. You can join today at membership.citycast.fm. That is membership.citycast.fm. Tons of other great perks too, like ad-free listening and neighbors-only events.
Yes, and old neighbors, if you are listening to this, our older neighbors, send us your stuff too. We want to know what everyone likes at all the times.
We also want to give a warm welcome to our newest neighbor, Laura F. Thanks for joining the CityCast Pittsburgh neighborhood.
Yes, thank you, Laura. Friend of the pod, Laura. We see you. We appreciate you. Now we will move on to a thing to know, a win, a loss. I think we're kicking it off with election updates. Y'all, we're almost there. Election day is Tuesday, November 4th. You're going to go vote.
Yes. Plugging our Procrastinator's Guide to Voting episode one more time if you want to brush up on what will be on your ballot. But we've got a couple important updates about the voting process itself.
Yeah, so if you're doing a mail-in ballot and you haven't sent it in already, do not put it in the mailbox because it probably won't actually arrive in time to get counted. Because reminder, these ballots have to be in by the time the polls close on Election Day. So what you should do instead is drop it off at a ballot return site. There are 10 different sites all around the county, places like the Squirrel Hill Library, the Dormont Pool. We'll drop a link with locations and drop-off times in the show notes. You can do that through Monday. And if you want to drop off your ballot on actual election day itself, you have to bring it to the county office, and that's downtown.
And I just want to reiterate here, if you were thinking, I'll roll the dice with the old snail mail, please don't do that. Axios Pittsburgh confirmed with election officials that it is officially too late to send them in the mail. So that's why we're telling you this. You have to actually hand them off now.
Yes. And then if you are planning to vote in person in Allegheny County, something just important to be aware of is that according to county officials, more than 20 polling locations have moved since the last election. So don't just roll up wherever you did, for the May primary. Make sure you check your polling place before you go. And we will drop a link in our show notes where you can do that and just confirm you're going to the right spot.
So another thing to know, some stories have dropped this week because City Controller Rachel Heisler, who we've talked to on this show before about Pittsburgh's whole financial situation, she released her quarterly report where she looks at how the bills are going and what we can afford and what we can't. We've talked about overtime a lot on this show, but now it is official. As of her latest report, we are spending more than we can possibly pay. She's been sounding the alarm on this for months, that it looks like this is what's going to happen, and now it's here. The bills are due, and we're going to have to start pulling from our savings to be able to cover what we've spent.
And keep in mind, this report only looks through the end of September, so we've still got 3 months left in the year. But yes, according to this report, several city departments have already exceeded their overtime budgets. So we're talking police, fire, EMS, public works. As an example, EMS spent more than $6 million by the end of September, but they've only been allocated $3.6 million for the whole year. And so, according to her projections, the city is on track to spend nearly $20 million more than it had originally planned for.
And we talked to the deputy mayor, Jake Pollack, about some of this pretty recently. The city just proposed its 2026 budget. And City Controller Rachel Heisler has been one of its chief critics because she's like, no, this document did not make sense in 2025. It makes even less sense in 2026. And this is part of why, is because she's saying that, like, look at what you're allocating, the $3.6 million for one department, and look at what you're spending, $6 million. Like, these numbers just simply do not add up according to her office.
Yeah. And I mean, Heisler did say that in some cases, the city is probably going to come in below budget on regular salaries because of staffing shortages. Like, some of those shortages are contributing to the need for overtime for other staffers.
Yeah, it's a big circular problem.
Yeah. And so, that could help absorb some of the overtime expenses. But, anywhere the costs don't even out, that money comes out of our reserve fund. And of course, it is never great when we're having to tap into that to pay our bills.
Yeah, the Trib noted in their reporting that the city also exceeded overtime budgets every year since 2019, at least 2019. So I think it's worth saying that this issue does predate Gainey, but I think the tone of how we're talking about it has shifted a ton because in 2019, the city was in a very different financial position. Like, we had finally come out of Act 47, out of the state oversight program. And then the pandemic hit and we all had pandemic aid to help with some of these expenses. So, like, it's not that the problem itself is totally different, but the way that we're discussing it and, like, our financial outlook for the next few years is, like, we now don't have COVID money coming in. There is, like, the buck stops here, and it looks like it's getting worse.
And it's clearly an issue that if it's coming up year after year after year, like, something needs to change. This needs to be solved somehow.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to check out those episodes previously with City Controller Rachel Heisler, we asked her if the city can go broke, like if that can happen. And if it can, like, what does it look like? I will spoil it slightly. The answer is yes, but TBD, what will actually happen. I really encourage you to listen to it. I learned a lot from that. And then also, of course, Deputy Mayor Jake Pollack talking about that 2026 budget. He contends that these numbers will be fine. It'll all work out in the wash, but, like, it's not his administration on the hook for it. It's our next mayor. So they'll propose one, and then the next guy, it'll be a guy, has to deal with it.
We'll see what happens after Election Day. Well, I guess more January when the new mayor's in, but
yeah, but isn't that, like, the dog of it, right? Like, the budget has to be approved by the end of 2025, and then a new mayor takes over, like, a couple days into 2026 and just has to deal with it.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird dynamic. Moving on to our loss, this is pretty sad. So this year, 3 people have taken really bad falls, one at each major sports arena, actually.
Yeah, I'm just floored by, like, the timing of this. Like, of course, people can fall. Terrible accidents can happen anytime. It's just like, why? Like, this thing came in threes in the way that, like, I feel like sometimes people morbidly make jokes about. So if you missed it, on Monday, a fan at the Pens game fell, I think, 35 feet from an upper deck. This was at PPG Paints Arena. He was hospitalized. It seems like this one was really serious. Last I saw a couple of days ago, he was still in critical condition. Also fell on top of someone else. So hopefully that person's okay too. Then a few days before that, at the Steelers game, before the game, somebody fell from one of the big scoreboards there.
Yeah, a worker who was installing a camera system, I believe.
Is that what it was? I didn't actually see why he was up there. Like, oh my gosh. Like, there's so many ways you could fall from that. Like, if you've been to a Steelers game, you know, like, that is just, it's so high and there's nowhere soft to land. Like, it's not possible.
Yeah, I did see there is a GoFundMe for him, and the friend who set it up said his long-term prognosis is good, but he definitely has a very long recovery ahead of him.
And then the Pirates, of course, back in April, like, this one's a little bit separated, but, like, only barely. Like, that fella that fell off the Clemente wall. So that was 20 feet up. He was hospitalized for a long time, did several interviews with the Trib about, like, how every part of his body hurt and was going to continue to hurt for a long time. It's just, I don't know what's going on, but, like, maybe we need to sage all the arenas. Like, I mean, the teams aren't playing all that great, but, like, people can't get hurt too. Like, you can't have both.
Yeah, be safe if you're going to a game.
Honestly.
Or working at one, I guess.
Well, we're not going to end on that note because that's too sad. So gotta end with our win. Free money. First, you got to bring some pennies, though. So this is a promotion happening with Giant Eagle this Saturday, and this Saturday only, you can go to Giant Eagle and trade in your pennies for gift cards. And these gift cards are going to be worth double the amount of pennies you bring in. So for example, if you bring $10 worth of pennies, you get $20 in gift card money. You can only do this between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. I would get there at 11. I honestly anticipate there's going to be a line. The minimum you have to offer is 50 cents. The maximum is $100. Who has that much money in pennies lying around?
It's 10,000
I think a lot of people
pennies.
in Pittsburgh probably have that many pennies lying around.
Just deep in the couch cushions that haven't been cleaned out for decades and decades.
Okay, well, I certainly don't. I hate coins.
All of the above.
I guess like the good news is though, they don't have to be wrapped. You can just dump all your pennies in a plastic bag or whatever, which for me begs the question, are they like counting them there, or is it a we trust you kind of situation?
I feel like they have to have like those bank counters or something, you know, like
Don't
usually
they already
there's like
have
a
those
Coinstar
machines in
machine
Giant
or
Eagles?
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like presumably they're not using that though, because like Coinstar takes a percentage of it when you use them.
Yeah, and I just don't feel like it'd be that effective to have everyone line up at like the Coinstar machine.
Yeah, no, I doubt it's that.
I also should say, I don't think they're like encouraging people to bring a bunch of loose change. It's just like letting you know you don't need to go get it wrapped in the bank. You don't have to make a special trip.
Yeah, fair enough. In case you missed it, all of this is happening because the U.S. Department of Treasury has been phasing out pennies. So the Federal Reserve has started limiting penny deliveries across the nation, especially to like banks and commercial customers. I just think this is so hilarious that like America's like, what do we do with rounding when like the nation of Canada did this like 10 years ago? It's like we don't have to reinvent the wheel here, guys.
Yeah, because Giant Eagle wants to collect pennies to make sure they can keep giving out exact change while it, waits for formal guidance from the government. My guidance for, I guess, me personally, you can keep the extra change. I don't care. I don't want pennies.
I guarantee you probably many somebodies have been hitting up every PNC in the city asking like, can you give me rolled pennies so that they can take them to Giant Eagle and then get more gift cards? Like I've personally been in the bank multiple times where people come in and ask for like hundreds of dollars worth of change to check for things like buffalo nickels. And if people are willing to do that, I guarantee you they're willing to try to game Giant Eagle gift cards.
I guess this is why they have like a maximum in place, because the most you can get is a $200 gift card on your $100 worth of pennies.
Which is worth it. Honestly, if y'all have any way to game this, I wish you luck. I hope it works.
Giant Eagle has cheated me out of at least $200 from their like produce markups, so I don't feel bad about this.
Yeah, but now they're actually trying. I'm appreciating that dollar section. Y'all keep with this competition. It's nice. That is all for today here on CityCast Pittsburgh. Our music is by Benji, All the Kimonos, Chanterelle, Avocados, Ignis Avis, and Joss, with additional music from EpidemicSound.com. Mallory Falk is our executive producer. Sophia Lowe and Elizabeth Kama produced the show this week. Francesca DeBecco writes our newsletter, and I am your host, Megan Harris. We will be back on Monday with more from around the city. Have a great weekend, y'all.
Whenever I think of cheating, I think of the guy who used like anal beads to cheat at chess or something, and it always makes me laugh. So I got like...
You did glaze over, but I was not expecting anal beads to be part of why.
I was like trying to decide if that was worth inserting, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do it.
Inserting, Valerie?
So
inserting?
Sorry.